So there's a video that is making the rounds right now on social media. It's a short video of a woman in an orange climbing suit who is in the process of climbing Mount Everest. The clip shows her kneeling on the side of the mountain, digging a shallow grave in the snow with a gloved hand and a makeshift shovel. The caption says that she brought her dog Ruddy with her to climb Mount Everest because he, quote, would not leave her side and that he died somewhere above Camp 4. In the video, she's crying, there's sad music playing in the background, and the video has been viewed over 53 million times. That is more views than there are people in California. 53 million moments where someone stopped scrolling to watch a woman burying her dog in the snow. Now, if the idea of someone trying to take their dog with them into the frigid death zone of Mount Everest sparks a lot of questions and a lot of intense feelings inside of you, then you are not alone. Because looking inside the comment section of this video, you will find a mix of rage and sympathy and debate. It is an avalanche of millions of people fighting with each other over this woman making the choice to take her dog into one of the harshest environments on Earth. There's only one problem, though. None of it actually happened. The woman isn't real. Ruddy, the dog, isn't real. There was no Everest expedition. The whole thing is stitched together by artificial intelligence. It is a fake video created on the text-to-video app named Sora. And if that gives you a little bit of the ick, well, it gets worse. The creator of this fake video didn't stop at one. Follow-up videos have appeared. A somber candlelight vigil at the base camp at Mount Everest. A selfie-style monologue addressing the haters that are criticizing her for bringing her dog. A carousel of clips proving a past that never existed. The story metastasized, inventing evidence to fuel the outrage that it had already provoked. And it's kind of maddening because it's deliberate. Manufactured grief, engineered controversy, a ghost story with photorealistic faces. But this does raise and beg an obvious question. How does a AI-generated fake video like this find its way in front of 53 million people? How does a fabricated dog funeral reach almost half the number of people that watched last year's Super Bowl? The answer is the invisible machinery behind our screens. Algorithms are the quiet gatekeepers of our feeds, the calculus deciding what gets shown to whom and when. Algorithms watch how long you hover, whether you like a video or not, whether you share it, how many milliseconds your eyes pause on a screen. Algorithms analyze user behavior and prioritize the content that gets engagement. The only problem is that engagement, well, it doesn't mean enriching, it doesn't mean good, it just means engagement. It is purely about what gets watched and interacted with the most. And in a world where attention is money, the most combustible material often wins. The most extreme or the most rage-baiting videos and content is what gets pushed the fastest and the hardest in front of human eyeballs. Because rage travels farther than nuance. Shock often beats context. The carnival barker with the loudest voice often sells the most tickets. And because corporations and creators know this, well, they keep upping the dose. If a dog funeral on Everest, if it hijacks our empathy and our anger, well, then more will be made. Louder, faster, more real. Because there is profit and revenue in our outrage. I want you to consider an unspoken reality in our society at this very moment. We are being fed the most toxic aspects of human imagination by the most powerful and well-resourced players in our culture. Every day, invisible systems churn to deliver not what is true or what is helpful, but what keeps us staring at a screen. And the goal is not our well-being. The goal is often to trigger us, to make us feel anger, to make us feel grief, to make us feel fear, because those reactions, they hold our attention. And attention is the currency that fuels their bottom line. And the result is that we often invest our time and our energy and our joy into things that do not deserve them. Corporate engines and political forces keep handing us salt water while we are dying of thirst, and we keep drinking because the cup is always full and always in reach. Think about it. Millions of people gave real minutes of their real lives to a video that was fake. They felt actual anger and actual sadness and argued with actual people and walked away with a smaller view of humanity over something that never even happened. Now here's the real sad part. How often do you think that cycle repeats itself on any given day? How many times are we rage-baited or emotionally manipulated because corporate and political leeches are siphoning our attention for influence and profit? And if we could tally all of those moments together, what would the sum reveal about what is shaping us as a society and as a culture? And so it's important to ask, what are we investing ourselves in? Where are we pouring our time and our energy and our emotions and our sanity and our resources? And just as important, how do we discern what is worthy of that investment? If the currents of our media and politics are working tirelessly to try and manipulate us, how will we learn to recognize the toxic from the worthwhile? How do we choose what forms us for good and refuse the things that hollow us out? This is the warning Jesus gives in our scripture reading this morning, because he says there will be false prophets, wolves in sheep's clothing. There will be voices and movements that look gentle and helpful and even righteous on the surface, but inside are ravenous, bent on using people rather than serving them. And that creates a real challenge for us in our daily life, because we're not always aware when we're being manipulated. Most of us like to assume good intent. We prefer to take things at face value, to believe that a sheep is a sheep. Like the fake video created online, we want to trust that what we are seeing is real. And so this is why Jesus gives us a way to discern the difference between sheep and wolves. He says, "You will know them by their fruits." You will know the difference between what is worth your investment and what isn't by what it produces and creates. Jesus says, are grapes gathered from thorns or figs from thistles? In the same way, every good tree bears good fruit, but the bad tree, it bears bad fruit. And this is how we learn what deserves our investment. If something repeatedly produces harm and fear and cruelty and contempt and exploitation, it is a bad tree, no matter how polished the presentation. If a supposed sheep consistently devours our peace and our hope and our neighbor's dignity, it is a wolf, and we should withhold our attention and our trust. By the same measure, where we see good fruit, things like mercy, honesty, courage, and justice, and steadiness and care for the vulnerable, in those things we have found soil worth tending. We should water that tree. We should give it our time, our energy, our resources. Jesus tells us to let the fruit be the evidence. Choose what cultivates life and refuse what consumes it. And I believe that this matters right now because our world is teeming with wolves. There are political forces that on the outside say they care about people. They'll do the patriotic song and dance and give lip service to being a sheep just like everyone else. Corporations will roll out the glossy ads to tell you how pure their wool is, and they'll even borrow a celebrity to certify their goodness. But Jesus' test, it is patient. It does not care about disguises or lip service, because in the end, the fruit will tell the truth. And so let's name it. When corporations squeeze workers and customers while building monopolies to protect profit, that isn't a sheep, that is a wolf. When social media worms its way into our attention by fueling anxiety and supercharging comparison, when it treats human beings as data points to be mined, and when its business model depends on addiction and outrage, that is a sheep, not a wolf. When a leader says they care about people and then allow people to go hungry, when they look the other way as sick people drown in medical debt, when a representative calls themselves just like you, but they reserve their hours for lobbyists while constituents' calls go unanswered, when leaders praise themselves and build opulence while prices climb and people go without, that is a sheep, not a wolf. Oh, other way. Flip-flop. Here's the thing. We tell a good and a bad tree by the fruit they produce. And Jesus is pretty blunt about what we are supposed to do with trees that do not produce good fruit. Jesus says we are supposed to cut them down and throw them into the fire. Now, in our terms, not actually asking to go cut someone down and throw them in the fire, but in our terms, what does that look like? It means we stop feeding broken systems with our clicks. We stop feeding them with our dollars, with our attention, with our emotions. We stop investing in them. We stop watering them, and we let them wither because a bad tree will never produce good fruit. Our task is to tend to what yields life and to starve what devours it. You know what that looks like in practice? It looks like deleting the apps on our phone that keep hijacking our mood. It looks like setting boundaries around doom scrolling. It looks like learning the difference between information and partisan fear bait. It looks like speaking truth to power and reclaiming the hours and the attention that have been stolen. And instead, we give that to the things that actually bear fruit. And if you still wonder what a good tree looks like, I want to give you a clear picture. This week, I heard from Bob Shepard. Bob Shepard is one of our ministry partners over at ABCCM. He's just literally there. ABCCM is 3 miles down the road, and ABCCM works with some of the most vulnerable people in our community. And here's what he told me in our conversation. He said on a typical day, they see about 10 people seeking help with food insecurity. But right now, because of the cruelty playing out in our government, that number has spiked to more than 50 people a day. And Bob called me this week because they are worried about having enough food for the coming days and weeks. And so in your bulletin, there is a list of items. These are the list of items that Bob said that they distribute the most, and they put them together. And so here's the thing. If you're in a place right now in our world where you are frustrated and wanting to do something, if you're looking for a tree that consistently bears good fruit, this is one of them. And I want to give you an opportunity to water a good tree. Over the next several weeks, I'm going to ask you to collect food for our ministry partners. And so this is what we're going to do. I mean, we've been doing this here at Asbury for years. We collect food and give them to the food banks and things. But I want us to focus on this a little bit more as an act of justice and compassion in this moment of cruelty. If you want to collect food and take it directly to ABCCM, their address is there on the bottom of the sheet. But if you want to bring it here to the church on Sunday morning, if that's easier for you, we'll set up a place and we'll take them to the ministry partners that we have at ABCCM and Manna Food Bank at the Montmorency Food Market, and we will continue to help feed people during this time. Because investing in work like this is what it means to water good trees. It redirects our energy and our investment away from the wolves, away from the outrage machines and the performative cruelty that would devour our time and sell us back our own exhaustion. But when we choose where to look, where to give, where to show up, we are pruning our lives towards love. And so, friends, may God grant us the courage to cut down what is rotten, the clarity to recognize the wolves however they may be dressed, and the compassion to invest in what yields mercy and sustains our neighbors. May our cliques, may our calendars, may our budgets testify to the fruit we seek. Amen.